more minute. It's 5:30. Want to wait one more minute, and we'll go ahead and go forward. We're still missing Commissioners Barak and Commissioners Lopez.
Well, good evening to everyone who is online.
How are you doing? How's that therapy doing?
Oh, they try harder and harder every time to kill me.
Well, they
I
haven't
know,
accomplished
no
it yet.
pain, no pain, no gain.
I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
I could do without that. I'll take the gain, but I won't go with it.
Oh, I mean, they are working me, man.
No.
It's helping in so many ways, but we're not there yet.
No, well, pretty soon. We look forward to you getting to a full hill. Well, it is 5:32 p.m. We do have 4 members out of 6. We do have a quorum, so I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to begin the meeting. This is January the 14th, 2021. It is 5:32 p.m. This is the work session of the Trinidad Urban Renewal Authority. And again, I'll remind everybody as we go forward, anybody speaking, please identify yourselves in advance so that we can record and know who we are conversing with. So the first item I have on the agenda this evening is the facade program. This is a topic that we've kicked around for a long time and in many different ways. So we don't have it in place yet. There are things that, in most recent times that we discussed it, I think the last time we did it was because we were looking to change the boundaries, to increase the boundaries from the Corazon district and to add, well, at that point it was going to be 6 blocks, but there was somebody on? Okay. There was some concern on that. We had irregular lengths of blocks and other things, so we made a change on that, and we were provided with a map, which we discussed last month, because the city engineering department had provided it, and I think the final decision was that we were going to adopt a quarter mile additional beyond the Corazon district. I'll give you some echo. Is that me or is that someone else?
I don't know, but I'm getting it as well.
Are you getting it as well?
Yes.
So in any case, that's where we're
not getting it.
You're not?
I'm not getting an echo.
Okay. So you in the recent past, Commissioners Villani and Bolton took on the task of revamping and making changes, but left it, the last time we discussed it, didn't go anywhere with it for adoption because at that point it was a matter of having to get that an addendum to the document, which was going to include the quarter mile radius, but that wasn't provided to us until after we had the meeting that we had discussed it. So that's got to come on the table, see how we want to go forward. And in the meantime, also, if you all will recall, I sent here in the recent past some suggested language from Mike Scholl from Ayers and Associates. He's done several of these, and he had some suggestions for us. I'm hoping everybody had the opportunity to look at it and determine whether we wanted to absorb some of that into our document, whether we wanted to make any major changes, or just go forward with the document that was already put together, the most recent, which would have been the 4th revision in November by, again, Commissioner Bolton and Commissioner Villani. Is that sufficient? Is you got to go with that two-page document plus our application? Anybody else hearing that?
Yes. It's like somebody else is online.
Is there somebody else online listening? Any other participants?
I'm on phone line listening.
We've got some disturbance coming in, and I'm not sure where it's coming in. It's fine.
Can you hear me? This is Mike. So, Mike Valentine, if you would, everybody who is not speaking, if you would mute yourself until you're ready to speak, that might be helpful. Sometimes that's, so at the bottom of your screen, there should be a little microphone. Mute yourself and it may help. So I'm muting myself now.
Okay. Well, and welcome, Mike. Okay,
Yes, welcome, Mike.
Yeah. So with that said, I'm opening it up to everybody. You can tell me what you know. I sent several things out. One of them was the information that Mike Scholl from Ayers and Associates had put together for us to consider. Obviously, there would be tweaking to that. It's a longer, considerably longer document than we've used. I think it goes from our 2-page to it takes on a format of like 4 pages. So don't know if that's something you all even longer than that. Don't know if that's something that you want to consider. If you want to stay real simple with our 2-pager and go from there. Open for discussion.
This is Commissioner Leone, and I think the simpler we make it, the better it is.
Okay.
And we worked long and hard on that, and I thought what we had done was great.
Okay. How's everybody else feel?
Commissioner Bolton, since I was a drafter of that, I'm gonna renege on comments and listen to, or co-drafter on that. I'm gonna renege until I hear everyone else's commentary.
Okay. Anybody else is? Commissioner Bawani, also you were a drafter of it, and.
Hey, Ed, do you mind if I add just a little background on that? This is Mike Scholl.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were on, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was. I don't necessarily think it's a kind of a question of either or. And I think if you went forward with the program that you'd put together, it's fine. I mean, I think you can certainly make it work. I think that, and I'll help you in so much as I can. My thought is that, as you start to use this a little bit more and you kind of learn about, how people, how the potential property owners and business owners are able to use it, I think, you'll start to tweak it a little bit and adjust it so that, you can get the most out of it. Because there are opportunities with this program, particularly if there's an interest in maintaining the historic character, and I know Trinidad has a very nice historic character in the downtown, to use some of these funds to leverage state historic use it as matches for state historic funds in different ways where you can kind of maximize and leverage that your contribution, help property owners get more. The other thing I would suggest too is I did put together kind of a simple brochure that I provided to Ed. That it's just a trifold brochure that you can print and hand out to the property owners. It's based on. I tried to do the brochure so that it would be consistent with either. If you go with it's consistent with the one that you put together as well, so you can use it to help kind of educate the property owners on how to apply and what's eligible and what the benefit is to the urban renewal authority.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
This is Commissioner Leone.
Yes.
I did like that one part where he had all of the eligible costs. I thought that was real interesting.
Okay.
And I really did like the brochure. I thought that would be nice even for us to be able to hand out.
I find the brochure, Commissioner Bolton, I'm sorry, I find the brochure extremely helpful. However, depending on what we decide on tonight, as far as which program that we're going to promote, there may have to be some changes made to the brochure, but bottom line is, I love the brochure with whatever changes we decide to make to it.
Okay.
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Okay, Commissioner, this is Commissioner Villani. Commissioner Villani, I think the brochure is outstanding. So I think it approaches things very clearly to individuals, how to apply, what the costs are. I think it was very well done, and it gets everything across. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Well,
Commissioner Bolton,
yes.
Chair Griego, I have sent you my commentary on the information from Mike Scholl, and the brochure contains a lot of things that I referred to in my comments. I don't know if those comments have been sent to the rest of the board, but we have to make sure that whatever we decide tonight, that brochure coincides with what we actually intend to do.
Right. Commissioner Bolton, did you send me anything on that?
Yes, sir. I sent it to you on January 6th.
I don't believe I received it.
Well, I apologize. I mean, I'm not at liberty. Well, you know, I'm at home and I do have a computer here. I could probably resend it to everyone. But yeah, yes, I did respond on January 6th about things that were contradictory to what I thought we had discussed previously. Shall I try to get online and share that with you, and then you can share it with others?
We can, because I didn't, like I say, honestly, yeah, go ahead and send it to me, because I'm looking at everything in particular from the 4th through the 11th, and I don't see your email.
Okay, let me do it. Hold on. You guys proceed. I'll log into Yahoo Mail and find it and resend it. And don't hold up discussion on my account.
Okay. Well, a couple of things that I look at, and like I say, I don't have any problems with our draftings. I do like a lot of the information that Mike has put in, or has offered, because obviously there's been a lot of work with these types of programs in other places. There's a couple of things, and I think Mike, when you originally sent to me, we talked about a couple of things in there that my concerns are in certain sections. Like my personal opinion is I don't want to include in the amounts that TURA was to fund. I don't particularly want to fund soft tests. It's under eligible cost number E. My thought is, if it's going to be for hard construction materials and labor, that would be one of my suggestions on there. But again, we need to, everybody needs to dissect and put what they would think if we're going to consider making any major revisions to it beyond what we have on our little 2 pages. And like Commissioner Bolton was saying, whatever we create on the brochure, it has to be consistent with what it is that we're saying within our document.
I think that if I could, in looking at the document that you had approved, I don't see where it speaks to the eligibility for any soft costs one way or the other.
Is that the one that you provided?
No, the one that you had, the one that you had done, it doesn't speak to.
Right, we don't. That was I'm making a comment on the one that you provided us.
Yeah.
That we under eligible costs. That was one that you and I think we had a little conversation on that, or right after you sent it to me. But that would be if there's any comment that I have, that would be my thing to make it.
I would only, my only suggestion, or I would only offer that, when you're dealing with historic buildings, and you have a good, like I said, you have a very good historic stock.
Yes.
Having a licensed architect involved, I think, is important to ensure that the design is consistent, the materials are quality, so that you maintain that historic character of your downtown. And I think part of the challenge from a property owner's perspective is to get a facade. I mean, to get it to the point where you have the application, you're probably going to have to hire an architect, and you're going to probably pay an architect $1,500 or $2,000, depending, or more, to get some of those elevations and those designs that I think you're probably looking for as a board. So allowing for a little bit of an allowance for some of those design costs, I think, can help you get better quality design. I mean, that's the hope. A better quality facade, or better designed facades that are applying. But again, I'm not. It's your decision, and I'm just offering my experience for you to consider. That's all.
Sure.
Commissioner Villani, I would like to echo a little bit of that. One of the things that has concerned me a little bit, and maybe it's because I finished a real estate class that dealt with historic restoration and tax credits, that maybe it's pretty important that I think when we're looking at these historic buildings, even though they may or may not have a historic designation, registered or even certified, that we certainly have a disclaimer there that, or something that talks about the facade, and that release the TURA board from any. There is just a whole lot that has to do with putting the facade back to where it was, or changing a facade on the historic building to ensure that the owner doesn't have any concern about registering that building as a historic building at some time in the future. I don't know if that's relevant to this issue, but I have been thinking about that with this program in mind.
Mike, your thoughts on that?
Well, are you? I just want to understand that you want to make it clear to the property owners that it's not a requirement that they register put their building on any local or state registry. Correct? Is that or
right? Or that they intend to, because if they were to intend to repair the facade and then go in or to apply for a certain designation, a historic designation, there are certain really fine points that they have to adhere to. You can't use, as far as materials, you can't use any kind of synthetics or anything like that. I'm trying to think ahead to think, well, would we ever encounter the possibility that someone might renovate a facade and then find out later that they can't register that building, or if they were wanting to with tax credits, you have to really apply before you do any work. So
Right.
and it's a step 3 process. But we want to make sure that we don't, that they're aware of all of those things, I think.
No,
So they're dealing with it.
I think that's a very good point. I mean, I do think that you both want to make sure they're aware of it, because there is a possibility for additional grant funding to support it. But it also, as you kind of alluded to, it comes with things. I'm not familiar. I mean, my experience is that if the building listed on it depends on what register the building is listed on. If it's on the federal register, then the restrictions are very high. I mean, in terms of what you can and can't do. But very few buildings are on the national register. A lot more buildings typically are governed by local historic registers, and I don't know what it would be more that they would have to work with if there's I'm not familiar with if there's a Trinidad, if there's a board, if there's a local historic register, because typically, in my experience, you're dealing with local registers, and you're able to set guidelines a little more flexible, set them a little bit more flexible than like the federal or state designation. If that makes sense, right? But to my earlier point, for certain buildings that are historic and where the property owner is interested, you could, in theory, take, say, the $10,000 facade program and go to the state historic fund and apply for a grant. And it's a 25% match. So if you have $10,000, and the owner puts up another 15. You have $25,000 to match, so you have a $75,000 state historic fund. So now that 10 that you bring to the table helps to, up to like 100,000. So there are some benefits. I mean, but I do think you are absolutely correct that a property owner has to go in with their eyes wide open and understand what those requirements are, in terms of design and really.
Certainly to know that if they have any intent to at some point register their building or to go through that process, whether it's at the state level or at the national level or even locally, that they might investigate that.
Yeah, and I think the facade program has been, my experience is it to your point, I think can be a good educational tool for property owners to understand what those requirements are and what potential upsides and downsides are for the looking at a historic register. I will say though, the other thing, even if you're working with a building that is not designated on a historic register, you want to make sure that if you're taking public money and investing in that building to improve it, that it doesn't deter from the historic character of the district itself or any adjacent or neighboring building. And so it's important, that you're not creating if you've got brick buildings, that the building at least mimic or has some relationship with the adjacent. You're not putting in a lot of glass and steel. And so I think you want to just be careful of that, because even though the facade may not affect a historic building, it does affect the overall historic character of the district.
Agreed.
Commissioner Bolton here. We're talking about all of these buildings that have been designated as historic within a historic district. I have a building within the historic district that I may not be utilizing the proper language, but my building was considered non-significant, even though it goes back to the late 1800s. And I know non-significant is not the proper wordage. Could you help me with that? I mean, the wordage. Non-complying,
I think you're looking for non-contributing. Isn't that the term?
that's it. Non-contributing. Thank you.
What the?
Commissioner Bull, were you able to find that email?
Did you get it?
Yeah.
Excuse me, I just sent it to you again.
Are you sending it to my Gmail?
Yeah.
No, it hasn't shown up yet, unfortunately.
And it should have. I'm so sorry. And if you want me to go through my commentary word for word, I'd be happy to do so. I may run out of juice for the rest of the actual meeting, but I will be happy to run through it. I have a copy of it in front of me, and yes, I did resend it to you.
Okay. No, I don't have anything yet. I'm sorry.
Okay? You want me to run through it quickly?
Well, why don't you go ahead? Give us a brief synopsis of what it is, because I'm interested in hearing.
Okay. Here we go. Tell me when to shut up. Page 1. Portion that references boundaries that generate tax increment revenue does eliminate anyone in the extended boundary. Is it mandatory? Is this mandatory?
Yeah, that was one of my questions. I thought. Okay.
Well,
The language regarding larger development projects, I don't think would apply to us, as we have never discussed such a thing, and it would certainly exceed the amount we have attributed to this. And that all deals with page 1. Page 2. TURA will work to meet deadlines but can make no guarantees. I don't think this applies to us. Also on page 2, color facade elevation. This makes it sound mandatory to have a licensed professional architect involved, which our current proposed policy specifies if required. I strongly feel that many facade improvements can be accomplished without such a requirement, and this will discourage applicants. Page 3. CE is contradictory to what our current proposed plan provides and could potentially eat up all that we are offering. Reference of application to the DDA office. First of all, we are not a DDA. And in my recollection, we have no mention of quarterly applications with regard to our program. Page 4. Again, references to quarterly applications. There's
Excuse me, Carol, where's that at? This is
I'm sorry?
I'm lost.
Well, I'm referencing the facade program that Mike Stoll presented to us?
Yes, I'm looking on that page. That's the page I said. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well,
Page 4, you said.
which one do we need to go back to, or do we need to start all over?
No, the one on you said page 4, and you were discussing that, and there was a bunch of noise, and I lost you.
Okay, let me get back here. Page 4.
A little more than halfway down.
Are we in sync?
Yeah, I think Commissioner Leone, where she's at, it says no to board. Should the board not select an application for a given quarterly period?
Right, and we've never discussed quarterly applications.
Sure.
Then the next comment I made was just a typo. And on page 5 is contrary to what we agreed upon with regard to disbursement. We discussed 25, 25, 50, and this document proposes 25
At completion.
and then other remaining funds released upon conclusion. So that was the entirety of my commentary. But I did add that personally, I think the document is too large and created to pertain to larger urban renewal authority districts. There are probably things we could borrow from it, but I'm not sold on it in its entirety. So that's it.
My only thank you for that. I'm not. I mean, I understand that your concerns. My only suggestion is whether you take the one I did or not. I think again, I'm just here to provide kind of my professional experience. The one thing that I would be a little bit clearer on, the one that you've done, is what constitutes an eligible cost, because I think that would need to be in terms of what you can spend money on, and or what is eligible for reimbursement, because my experience is that sometimes if you have property owners that use it to fund deferred maintenance, it doesn't really meet the spirit of the facade program. But that's just something for you to use.
I think Commissioner Bolton here again, and just give me a moment. I'll find, within our definitions, I think particularly that we define what we're looking to aid.
Are we all still together?
I don't know if anyone has that last.
We've lost you, Commissioner Bolton.
I'm here.
Okay, we can hear your finishing of your statements.
The other thing I would observe is on the facade program that you did internally, that was provided to me under number 7, you do require architecturally stamped drawings.
If required.
If required.
Required, yes. that's page 2 of the number 7.
Right.
If required, because we all know that there are people with buildings that can't afford to go through the architectural process and payment to an architect. And I mean, if someone just wants to apply to us for facade painting or glass replacement or something else to beautify the front of an existing stable building, we don't want to have to make them think they have to go through an architect to get our services.
Yeah, I would suggest you might want to change the language on the one that you did, because it says must be submitted. Architectural stamp drawings must be submitted on the application.
You are correct. You are correct. And then we follow it by if required, but must and if do contradict each other.
Okay. So number 7 needs some revision.
Yes.
Okay. Do we want to renew? Do we want to list? Do we want to make listing of what we feel to be eligible costs?
I'm sorry, come again?
Do we, Mike had mentioned, do we want to actually list in our on our document that you originally authored, or what that you authored and helped revise? Do we want to put in there a list of what we feel to be eligible costs, or do we think we have it defined well enough?
I know that in number 13 on the original document, we set out what we will not cover.
Okay.
I haven't reviewed lately to see if we say exactly what we do cover. Maybe somebody can help me there.
Well, what I would suggest is, because that was one of the things I think if I'm a property owner trying to put myself in their shoes, what it is I'm applying for. And I would think if you looked at the one I did for you, page 4, subsection C, and I think you said you want to delete, you don't want to fund any architectural or whatever, but if you look at that, I list out A through G on kind of what would be eligible. Includes the deconstruction, construction activities, materials for labor, replacement, repair of windows and doors, restoration of historic materials, brick masonry, facade, lighting fixtures, and then there's some other stuff that you may not want to include. And it just says, it further defines it a little bit more. So it's something, and then I think if it's something, if you want flexibility, you can just add a line that just says in any other, any other improvement at the discretion of the board. It just gives you that flexibility. But that's a pretty simple change.
I would, this is Commissioner Vellani. I would like to say that the program that you've sent over, Mike, is very clear. It's step by step. I think it's very readable. So, I mean, as far as letting people know your headings and everything else. It's something that I think we certainly, I appreciate it. I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate that. My only, well, I don't, the suggestion I have too, and maybe it'll come up later with Ed, well, whatever you decide, I'm happy to take the brochure and adjust the brochure to reflect the program, the whatever program approach that you approve and are comfortable with. Because I the would be helpful.
Commissioner Bolton, thank you, Mike. We appreciate that.
Okay. So what's our takeaway then, board members? Stay with our original, with our the one that we've had for quite a while with some revision, as mentioned this evening, which will include the quarter-mile boundary extension.
Commissioner Leone, are we going to do any eligible costs?
Commissioner Bolton, would you like to add that in?
Well,
for some clarification, I guess.
I guess I'm questioning, Commissioner Leone, exactly what your question is. What kind of cost?
I think we do need to have something about eligible costs. I thought that was very important. That was just my opinion. It doesn't have to be what we have in theirs, but I think we need to really kind of hit on that a little bit.
Well, and I do agree with you. I mean, we focused on ineligible costs, but I don't think we've really set out ineligible costs. So thank you.
Well, I think, Ed, if you like, what I could do is take that section about the eligible cost, less some of the comment and the feedback I've got from the board, and just add it into your document for consideration. If that would be helpful. The other thing I would suggest too is, having done dozens of COD grants and worked in this, keep in mind that it's important. You will can change this program as you start to expectations and start to get feedback from property owners. You'll start to understand what it'll give you some clarity on what's unique about your downtown and how you need to kind of adjust the application and the approach to better serve those folks. Getting started, I think, is great. And I think as you go forward, as long as there's some flexibility, as you learn more about how people use it, I think you'll see where then you'll understand where they need to be more flexible, and as it gets used and start to do some grants. So that's my only commentary. Okay.
Well, and Commissioner Bolton here again, I will reiterate that I would love to see our program be eligible for the non-contributory buildings in the historic district versus only the historic buildings, who can then further move on for more historic grants. The non-contributory cannot.
Okay, so with that, I guess I'm trying to get that clarified in my mind, how you want to have that structured in the document.
Well, I think, honestly, I think the only structure needs to be that we need to remove any mention of those buildings who will move forward to historic grants. And I think they will know who they are. I mean, personally being one, that I know that I could potentially apply for funding from this program, but I know that I cannot move forward to any type of Colorado historic funding. We need to make this for our people, our town, our buildings.
Okay.
Commissioner Villani speaking. I agree with Commissioner Bolden in part, but I also think that, again, to apply for historic grants is a lot more, could possibly be very restrictive for some people, and so I don't think to exclude, to take buildings. And you have one, I have one that's 1879 building, and one that's 1930. So, but I think we need to be very careful, or TURA needs to be very careful to make sure that we're not excluding anyone. Because I think...
Commissioner Villani, I agree 100%, and we still need to drive people who are eligible toward those Colorado historic grants, but not ace out the folks that aren't eligible. So I think just a little bit of maybe language change would serve all of the purposes.
I think you could. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, for the program to be effective, it has to be for all property owners. And so I think if you just put a language in there that indicates that you don't need to be a historic building to apply would probably be sufficient. Or there's no requirement that it's a historic or historically registered building.
And then, of course, there's a reference to buildings over 50 years old are considered historic. But historic in what definition?
I'm not too sure that we need to. I think Mike's saying that it applies to all buildings and it doesn't need to be historic. I think that comment covers everything. People have an idea that, gee, is this just for historic buildings or not? I think that line just pretty much lets everybody know that you can be either historic or not, and you need to decide which category you're in. But the program isn't exclusive to one or the other.
So are you suggesting scratch the 50-year or any reference to historic?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that Mike had offered a suggestion for a language change that leaves it very flexible. And I think that we don't really need to define it one way or the other, because the board will eventually decide on the application and what needs to be done, right?
Commissioner Bolton, Fran, I think, and Commissioner Villani, I think you just summed it up very well.
Thank you.
Okay, with that said, then, Commissioner Bolton, would you like to incorporate those things and then you send it to me or send it and or to Mike, and we can try to get this headed in another direction so we can someday get this. You know, we're headed towards springtime where a lot of people are probably going to want to start doing things. So maybe we can have it there by the time we see a warming of the weather.
Hey Ed, if it'll help, I feel like I could take some of the comments and just use the document that you initially put together, make a few tweaks, and get it back to you by tomorrow. I don't think you're suggesting anything. Anyone suggested anything that's too huge of a departure from what you already have. I mean, if you want, I mean, I could have it for you by close of business tomorrow if you want.
Okay. How does that sound, commissioners? That'll free up your
Commissioner
time.
Bolton, I think it sounds fantastic.
Commissioner Leone, I like that idea very much.
Okay, Mike.
Commissioner Villani, that's fine with me.
Okay. We'll get it out there to everybody. As soon as you get it to me, Mike, I'll send it to Brittany to get it out to everybody, and you know, we can get this and get it. You know, if it's to everybody's agreement, and that'll include the quarter-mile extension, Mike. And you have to talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, we talked about that. We could talk. I don't want to get into the weeds on the map. My only observation with the map is when you did the quarter mile, there were parts of the map that were outside the city limits, which would then be outside the boundaries of the. It was very small area. But we can discuss it. I don't think it's a huge.
Okay.
Commissioner Bolton, good question. One that I've had, and I wasn't sure how to put it into words. Can we extend that boundary without people adding to the TIF funds within the statutory requirements of what we do?
I don't think those two relate, Commissioner, because our program is a facade program, which when you look on the map is the darker colored portion right in the center of town. The extension of our quarter mile from that doesn't do anything as far as the plan which we have in place and adopted, which is the corporate limits of the city of Trinidad. And Mike, we'll have to talk about that, because as I look at it, I don't think that that quarter mile infringes on the city limits anywhere, unless it's over by, and I think I know where you might be talking about, on the west of the interstate.
Yeah, it was just a very small area that would be outside. But like I said, I don't want to get. I don't think it's a big deal. So I don't want to get in the weeds on that one.
Okay. Well, we
have no requirement that the people we serve or the properties that we serve with these grants must be people who contribute to TIF.
I guess the question I think is, because I think Ed, you and I had a discussion. I mean, the issue is if it's outside of the urban renewal boundary, you can't. But I think probably getting too deep in the weeds.
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
We'll get at that, and Mike Valentine, I'll speak with you on that when we get an opportunity. Okay, Mike, Joel, you'll assist us with that.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. We're on that a long time. We'll go on to number 2, the Chestnut Street and Cedar Street property. This is a property that we're going to offer for sale. We have a we approved a couple of months ago the request for proposals document, which is request for expression of interest. And so what I sent to everybody the other day was some just some prototypes of some notices that, as required by law, we'll have to put them. We'll have to advertise twice in the newspaper for the RFPs. Those numbers or dates that I put on there are just arbitrary. It's something that I think I consulted with Mike Scholl on that just a little bit. But what I provided was some numbers that I think, dates that if we're ready to go forward, I get this, maybe with a little tweaking, get it into the newspaper, maybe as early as late next week, and it'll be run two weeks consecutively. One of my questions was, is March 12th a date that everybody thinks is realistic for potential buyers and developers to be able to respond to us? Mike, you think that's a time frame that's livable?
Yeah, I think so. It gives them, because I think if you get it in, it has to be posted for 2 weeks, I believe.
Well, it has to be 2 consecutive weeks. So what?
Yeah, 2 consecutive weeks.
Wednesdays.
And then it'll give people 6 weeks to kind of come up with a response. I think that's ample time.
Commissioner Leone, I agree.
Commissioner Bolden, I agree as well.
Okay. Well, and that'll be next step that I take. I've done a couple of ads. What I thought would be ads, I'll tweak them with some other stuff that's there, and I'll get it to the newspaper so we can get. One of the things I want to remind everybody that it does say on the RFP that the proposals and the cover page on this, the proposal will be accepted until filled. Initial review will begin no later than 10 days after receipt of the proposal. So everybody will have to be on notice that once they go out there and we start getting them in, that could essentially be, within the next 3 to 4 weeks. So will everybody be prepared to read? Those will be sent out to you for review. Will everybody be in a position to be able to do so?
Commissioner Bolton, I will be at your disposal.
Right.
Commissioner Leone.
Unless it conflicts with physical therapy.
Yeah, so we'll make it work out, like I say, but I just want everybody to be aware. Please review that RFP document. Everybody does have it. And like I say, there will be all the parameters set out there. I will begin putting together how it has to be. And one of the things that maybe Mike, you want to address it now, is that you would talk to maybe one of our considerations for TURA at some particular time. It's not going to be now because we're at short term, but we maybe need to start developing our own website in conjunction with the city in order to have all our own information out there.
Yeah, it's just a suggestion. I think part of it just facilitates the dissemination of the information so that people aren't emailing Ed. They can go, or whomever, that you can go to a website and grab the information, and it's easy and accessible. I don't know why. I mean, I know the town, that because of some ADA report, they don't post PDFs, but it's something that I think is worth a board discussion about, maybe setting up a website that's specific to the Trinidad Urban Renewal Authority, where you can post things like the facade improvement program application and information, and the RFP, the RFEI for the property, and your plan of development, and also use it as a tool potential for board recruitment as well, because I know that Ed had mentioned that that's something that where people can go grab information, because I think a lot of developers, it's not a huge step, but having to email to get the document, and it's a little clunky, and so I thought you may want to have a discussion about maybe setting up your own and hosting your own website so you can help get that information out.
Okay. We'll probably make that an item for future discussion as well. Anybody else on that particular matter? We'll move to item number 3, items for future work session discussion. I do want to mention that next month, February meeting is the annual meeting for the Urban Renewal Authority at the time that we elect officers. That's an annual thing. And I will tell you ahead of time that I will have my feelings hurt if somebody would like to assume this position that I've had for 6 years running. It won't be detrimental to me, and I will not have hurt feelings if somebody else would like to sit here for a while. FYI. The second thing I'd like to mention is that, again, Mike made mention it because we've talked about it, board members, just to let you all know that we, as of next month, will be down 2 board members. This evening, I guess it'd be appropriate to bid Commissioner Villani of Fondue because she has chosen not to seek reappointment. So, Commissioner Villani, I would like to tell you this evening, which is your last meeting, that we very much appreciate all the time and effort that you've contributed to Urban Renewal over the past years that you've been with us, and you will be missed.
Well, thank you very much, and I would like to thank everyone too. I've enjoyed being on this position for the last 6 years, and it's really a pleasure to me to know that so many that TURA is on the pinnacle, getting ready to do some absolutely fabulous things. So I thank all of you too.
Commissioner Bolton, Fran, you have really been invaluable to us, in my opinion. I hate to hear that you will not be joining us in the future, but I do understand, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Carol.
Commissioner Leone, thank you, Fran.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
With that being all the things, those items we have to discuss in work session this evening, I think we can now make our way on into our regular meeting. So it is 6:33 p.m. It is January the 14th. Today is January the 14th, 2021. This is the regular meeting of the Trinidad Urban Renewal Authority. Item number 1 on the agenda is roll call.
We're at Bolton. Here. Leone.
Here.
Lopez. Villani.
Here.
Grego.
Present. Item number 2 is the approval of minutes for the most recent meeting that we had. Well, there's actually two approval of minutes for this evening. It is the number 1, item number 2, which will be the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting that we conducted on December the 10th, 2020. Is there a motion?
Excuse me, Ed, if it's okay, I'm going to check out here because I don't think you need me for anything.
Okay, you and I will be in contact again.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Motion for
Commissioner
approval.
Bolton, can we combine a motion to approve the regular minutes of December 10, 2020 and the special meeting of December 21, 2020?
That's your sort of desire to make that motion.
I make that motion.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Commissioner Bolton makes the motion. Commissioner Villani is a second. Are there any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Bolton? Yes. Leone?
Yes.
Villani?
Yes.
And Grego?
Yes. And I need a couple of seconds of pause here because I have to bring my computer out of the sleep mode so I can look at the rest of our agenda. Item number 3 is going to be the acceptance of the financial report. And that was provided to us, and that has all the numbers related to our to what we have in accounts as of December the 31st, 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it. Commissioner Leone?
Commissioner Villani for the move. Commissioner Leone on a second. Are there any questions or comments? I would just like to bring something up just for a matter of reference. A couple of items. Number 1, we did have the our special meeting in December related to our budget for 2021. At that point, I did use a $40,000 estimate for the coming for 2021. You'll notice that the actual for 2020 at this point is $39,296. There'll probably be a little bit more that shows up here through January that will be attributable to 2020. But I'm thinking that the numbers that we've estimated are estimated for our budget is going to be pretty close to what the $40,000 estimate will be for the coming year as well. So just an FYI. And then there's another one another related to financial. When we approved the budget, Commissioner Barak brought up a question related to FDIC insurance, related to funds, and was told by the bank that there are regulations in place that require that the bank maintain funds equal to what the public funds are on deposit. So, there is no jeopardy. Roll call.
Wilson? Yes. Leone?
Yes.
Villani?
Yes.
Drago?
Yes. Item number 4 is consideration of bills. We have one bill which totals $18.07, and it was for the public hearing notice that was published in the Chronicle News for the special meeting that we had for the budget in December the 21st. Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to pay the Chronicle News in the amount of $18.07. Commissioner Bolton, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Leone seconds that.
Motion and a second. Other questions, comments? Roll call.
Bolton? Yes. Leone?
Yes.
Villani?
Yes.
Drago?
Yes. Item number 6, petitions or communications, oral or written. Is there anyone that is tuned in or is an observer this evening that would like to make any comments or make any short presentations to the Trinidad Urban Renewal Authority? The records show that nobody has come forward wishing to address Trinidad Urban Renewal Authority. Item number 7 is old business. We have none of record. Item number 8, new business, and there is none of record. Item number 9, a report by Executive Director. There's nothing, I think, anything to be discussed. We've discussed this evening. Item number 10, reports by commissioners. Commissioners, is there anything that anybody would like to bring forward this evening?
Commissioner Bolton, this isn't really anything for report or anything else, but I really want to express that I like the idea of the online presence of our Urban Renewal Authority. I think that Mike Scholl's idea was a really wonderful one because we're not really out there and people need to know that we are here and what we can provide.
Well, thank you. And like I said, something we'll have to look at pursuit. I'll have to see, that makes sure, it comes with a lot of caveats for compliance and those kinds of things. But so it would be something that there'll be discussion with the city and see how we can either incorporate or how, because we have to tie closely to whatever their IT allows in order to make sure that we don't fall out into any other out into the weeds, or like Mike would have said. And the other thing too is I just want to remind everybody that we are going to be using the services of Mike and Ayers and Associates for various things, and like he is going to do for us. He mentioned that he will do for us this evening, but assisting, helping to get those drafts of the documents. I think that should be helpful, like for you, Commissioner Bolton, because I know you're very busy as well, the rest of us. So sometimes those paid services are going to come in very handy.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else to report by commissioners, we are to item number 11, adjournment. Is there a motion?
So moved. Commissioner Bolton.
Is there a second? Motion to adjourn. Second?
I'll second.
Forced you into that, didn't we?
Yes.
There are no questions, comments, or dissenting votes. We will consider this meeting adjourned. It is 6:42 p.m. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Goodbye, friend.
This conference is no longer being recorded.